we had a young black man get shot a few days ago um, for simply knocking on the wrong door. As a Canvas team lead, that obviously hits my heart. But even just as a human being, it hits my heart. And also, this young man who is the grandson of the man who shot him, that's hard for me too, because I have family members as well that have acted racist, have acted disrespectfully, have cut me out of their lives, for the same racist bias. Because I fight for Black Lives Matter. I fight for workers' rights. I fight for reproductive rights. And so I've had family members do this as well. And it's horrifying to watch this, because obviously I don't think this guy is an activist. Although he very well could be, and that might be what his progression becomes.
That's incredible. I'm super proud. He was calm the entire time. He was coherent, and he did a wonderful job. That's what it is. The reason why I do what I do is so that there are people out there who change their opinions on certain things. You know what I mean? So that the message is spread further.
Now to Andrew Lester, the white homeowner who is accused of shooting a black 16-year-old, Ralph Yarl. He pled not guilty yesterday to 2 felonies. Lester told police that he was scared to death of Yarl due to his...
So here's what it is. This guy, again, another Hassanabi...
Hassan, you literally cut him off right when he was going to say what the excuse was. You cut him off right when he was going to tell us what this old man's fucking excuse was. Have better timing, dude.
Lock of the week, lock of the century, lock of all time. As soon as I found out about the details of the shooting, I was like, this is a racist old guy, hopped up on Fox News with a gun, terrified of his own shadow, and certainly terrified of, like, black people coming into his neighborhood. Turns out, of course, that was the case. And, you know, there it is. Once again, when you watch 24/7 Fox News, this is the outcome. You move on to, like, more and more radicalizing content. You watch OAN, Newsmax, all the like, and you absolutely lose your mind. Here we have it. There's a good comparison here, like, from a personal anecdote from, where is it? Where's Krulge, who talked about this? Wait, did he delete it? Oh, he might have deleted it. I wonder if he deleted it personally, though. Oh, okay, here it is. My grandfather died with Fox News logo burned into the corner of his boxy CRT TV. A few feet away, he'd stashed a handgun he bought in his delirium to protect him from the immigrants and terrorists of Darboy, Wisconsin. Anyway, it's good that there's like 10 million of him now. Social experiment. I gave a bunch of mentally unstable people unlimited ammo while they slid towards...
Isn't it amazing how people who live in states that are nowhere near... They're nowhere near a country border that would actually impact them. Like, okay, so if you want to talk about terrorists coming into the country, I think the most famous is when they came in through Washington State. And it was to, they wanted to do some disruptive behavior at, it was one of these global organizations that was, it was like a, can't even remember what it was, but it was so stupid. Like, that's where they actually came in through Canada, right? But that was like once. It happened like once. But I think terrorists realize that it's easier to come in through Canada than it is through Mexico, right? Because y'all acting like the brown people are so bad. So you're trying to build your wall up by the border on the southern side of the country. Interrupt ecosystems. So that you can... It's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid that y'all have to hate. Y'all have to have demons. Y'all have to hate. It's really fucking stupid. And I've had this problem within my own family. I mean, I would send a picture of my son to my father every year. One of the larger school pictures. every year. He'd have it up through Christmas, but by the time I came out for his birthday in January, he had replaced it with whoever was the Republican running for office at that time, whether it was George Bush or what's his face that died from cancer from Arizona that ran with Sarah Palin. Can't remember now. Or the Mitt Romney. He was constantly taking my son's photo down every year within like a few days and putting up a picture that he got for donating to the Republican presidential campaign. I wasn't even fucking political at that point. But once he realized that I was political, once he realized I was a Bernie victory captain, and despite the fact that Bernie had actually dropped out of the race, motherfucker decided to excommunicate. I never gave him crap for his politics. Not once. Not once.
Dementia. Yeah. This is the unfortunate reality for so many people that are older, our elderly population, but it's also an unfortunate reality for even younger people. More and more middle-aged individuals are behaving like this. And of course, his this dude's grandfather. This dude talked about his grandfather openly. His name is Ludwig, by the way. I read this article earlier today. It's pretty good. It's pretty informative. It's exactly what you would think it is. Here, we'll go through it from the top.
Yeah, when you talk about the middle class, the middle-aged people doing this, I just had 4 kids ride by my balcony on $800 to $1,300 bikes. Motorized bikes. They all have them in my neighborhood now. They are constantly buying their little river toys and their bullshit, not giving these kids a reasonable expectation of what life is, and just fucking giving them these toys where they get hurt. Like, one of them had a spill out right in front of my balcony and didn't have a helmet on. They ride up on the sidewalk. They do not give a shit because their parents are like, just go out there and tear up the world. Tear up the world right now. Because the pandemic was a plandemic, right? It is really scary how much people in this world are passing off misinformation, not only amongst each other, but to their kids. They're training their kids up like this. They're training their kids up like this. Like, can you fathom actually spending $800 to $1,300 on something for your child that's in elementary school or junior high? Why would you spend that kind of money on your kid? And yet, 4 of them just rode by. 4 of them just rode by.
You're in paranoia. Grandson says Andrew Lester bought into conspiracies and disinformation. A grandson of the man charged with shooting a black teen in Kansas City, Northland last week said he was appalled and disgusted at his grandfather's actions and is thankful Ralph Yarl is recovering. I was horrified. I thought it was terrible. Clint Ludwig said of his immediate reaction to hearing about the shooting of the 16-year-old. It was inexcusable. It was wrong. Okay? I feel terrible for him. Ludwig said he's 28 years old of Yarl. And I'm really glad that he's doing okay. He's going to live. I know his life changed forever, and I'm really sorry. Do you want to know? Care to find out how he was absolutely radicalized? You know what? I'll let CNN cover it.
His size. Now, Lester, who is 84 years old, was released on bond. He is due back in court June 1st. Prosecuting attorney said there was a racial component to this case. Miraculously, Yarl is back at home, recovering from his injuries after 3 days in the hospital. This is a picture of him taken yesterday with his lawyer, Lee Merritt. So joining us now is Clint Ludwig. He is the grandson of Andrew Lester, and we always like...
What a great name for an attorney. Lee Merritt. That's awesome. By the way, it's like 84 today, so I am icing all of my joints. I'm in a lot of pain today. Today is hard. Today is hard for me because if weather goes too extreme, and I have like a 10-degree threshold, I swell if it gets too hot, and I seize up if it gets too cold, right? I start stiffening up. So today I am swelling because it is 84 degrees outside. And Also, my gas bill has really spiked up, so I can't. There are certain things I cannot do to try and regulate the temperature inside my house anymore.
To get a perspective on the thinking of someone who knows him, why they might do this. So, Clint, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. Good morning.
Good morning to you. So what is your reaction? What was your reaction when you heard that your grandfather shot Ralph Yarl for ringing his doorbell?
I was disgusted. I thought it was terrible. Myself and my family stand with Ralph Yarl and seeking justice. This is a horrible tragedy. It never should have happened.
Folks are going to want to know, why are you speaking out and apparently against your grandfather?
It's the right thing to do. This country happens over and over again where people get away with killing unarmed, innocent black people, and I would have had the same energy for any other case like I've had.
I was walking with a black woman when I got attacked by a dog. It could have been her. She could have been the one attacked by that dog, right? It could have been a gun. We were knocking on doors every single day for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for me, 5 days a week for the canvassers. That could have been any of us. You know, we tried to make ourselves obvious and apparent by wearing like yellow vests and stuff, but I tell you, I knocked on so many doors with so many freaky people who yelled at me, who were condescending to me, who didn't give notification that there was an animal in the yard. Here I sit trying to ice my joints, especially the knee that got bit, but like everything's swelling up because like every injury I've ever had in my life has been affected by this bite. It's complex regional pain syndrome. Basically is a nerve disorder that happens when you get impacted pretty hard or you have like a bad surgery. And it triggers everything. So like every injury I've ever experienced in my life is flaring up. And it especially happens when the weather gets too hot or it gets too cold.
Over and over again in this country, like I said, but so it's the right thing to do, and people need to speak out and not make any excuses for this kind of behavior and this violence.
So you said for killing innocent black people, the prosecutor in this case has suggested that there was a racial component to it. Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
I believe he holds racist tendencies.
I think one of the best things he said, he sounds like a Hassan Abihed. Yeah, that's what I thought too. One of the things he said that I find, very smart, was this. Does he consider his grandfather a racist? He said, I believe that there have been some positions that he's held that have been bigoted or sort of disparaging. But it's stock Fox News conservative American stuff. It's anybody who gets an abortion is a murderer, and fatherless black families are the reason why crime exists in this country. It's stuff everybody's heard at the Thanksgiving table every year. Because the baseline American position in a white supremacist country like the United States of America is kind of white supremacist. Okay? It's kind of racist. It's very commonly held. That doesn't mean that it's like, not every person who is going to go out of their way and like be terrified of a black person and shoot them immediately is going to be outwardly like, a Klans member, like a card-carrying Klans member. They don't, that's the extra racist motherfucker. Okay? Like, Ethan got upset about you saying people are default.
You know what's so ironic about that too is that, so when my son was a baby, when he was an infant, we used to have this very dark-skinned black man that would come into the salon. I was a hairdresser at this time. He was always dressed perfectly. He had like a suit on every time. He'd come in and he had this very deep voice. He had a very deep voice. There were 4 of us who had babies that year. And every one of our babies responded so well to him. They loved hearing his voice. They loved hearing his deep voice. And it's like we have this older generation that is teaching hate. We have an older generation teaching hate, sucking up Fox News, and trying to differentiate people by the color of their skin. And it's some bullshit. Because, there are good people of all diversities, of all ethnicities. And it's so fucking stupid to rate people like that. I mean, I've had cousins tell bad jokes to me that are offensive and weird and made me uncomfortable. I've had one of my parents do it. It's just really uncomfortable and stupid, and I just don't understand why they double down on it. Why are you doubling down on it? Like, can't you be grown-ass adults? Can't you be grown-ass adults?
Anti-trans. I mean, that's the truth. It's just the truth. But it's what you make of that truth that is important. Yes, it's the same as like the default position towards black people in the country. Yeah, you either have apathy towards black people and you're like a little afraid of them, and you know, there's like varying different tiers of that kind of like white supremacy manifesting within every single person, including even black people. Like, you know, there's plenty of black people that also demonstrate anti-black behavior in this country because they are a product of the white supremacist social conditioning, you know? Yeah. Now, you can understand that, and if you are trying to de-radicalize someone, use that to your advantage by not being immediately combative, especially if you're like especially if you are coming at it from a privileged perspective. If you're like not a black person, or if you're not a trans person, if you're talking to a transphobic person, you have the opportunity to come at it from a privileged perspective and just like, you know, sidestep some of the initial transphobia or white supremacy to unwind people a little bit and unwind their perspective a little bit. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know any better. A lot of people are just victim to the social conditioning and can be convinced, you know? Anyway, so understand that.
That's the thing though, Hassan, is that a lot of these people are educated. They are intelligent people, and they chose to be hateful. And I know that's a really sad thing to accept. But they are. They chose to be hateful. Like, everybody in my life who has been racist in front of me has been college educated. Whether it's a bachelor's or a master's or more. Okay? They are college educated people. These are not stupid people. They chose to be hateful.
Beliefs.
Why do you say that?
He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, you know, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things that they say. Yeah, so
also, everybody's saying a white guy with cornrows, like, he might be mixed, for the record. Like,
makes sense, but they're just scared.
Chill.
Like, who the fuck is in your chat? God damn, dude. Like, who cares? Who cares? He's obviously, like, in the right place. He's like, I disagree with the behavior of my grandfather. Why the fuck are you talking about his hair? Shut the fuck up. What the fuck is wrong with you that you're like, I don't like his haircut. I don't like the way he styled his hair. Get the fuck over yourselves. Holy shit.
Now, listen, you're generalizing a lot here about, you said, older Christian white males, but
he looks like,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean they're scared? Talk to me more, please.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like a lot of people of that generation are caught up in this 24-hour news cycle of fear and paranoia perpetuated by some other news stations. And he was fully into that, sit and watch Fox News all day, every day, blaring in his living room. And I think that stuff really kind of reinforces this negative view of minority groups and leads people to be a little, it doesn't necessarily lead people to be racist, but it reinforces and galvanizes racist people and their beliefs.
Okay, this dude is definitely...
What?
Okay.
What?
I'm not going to say anything.
What?
Now, apparently...
but, you know, you're in here. This is a very good showing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Clint. You said that your grandfather would say or do things, apparently, that you did not subscribe to, that caused you to distance yourself from him. Say and do things like what?
That's right. A lot of it was the kind of QAnon level conspiracies about election denying, and then they got really weird with some Fauci dogs. I really didn't know what that meant, but I would push back on some of this stuff, and he couldn't handle being pushed back on. And at a certain point, we kind of lost touch. And I think it was more of his choice than mine.
Did he say or do things?
Yeah, I lost touch with my dad right after Easter in 2020. Bernie had already dropped out of the race. Like, I wasn't even doing any political organizing at the time, but he decided he was done with me because I had done that political organizing in the first place, and he disagreed with it so severely. You can't fix your relatives. You can try, but you can't fix your relatives, you know?
That you found offensive about?
Not every left-leaning person is a Hassan Abiy man. Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct on that. You're absolutely correct on that. It's just like certain keywords that he's using is the reason why everyone in this community is saying, like, it sounds a lot like, he might be like
Minorities
galvanized.
or people of color?
Yes, he would say some things. I can't remember exactly now all that happened, but I know he had something about, had a really hot take about abortion and how something about black women getting abortions. And I didn't know what he was talking about, but I said, I don't really want to talk to you about this anymore. This is racist. And
that's how they do too, by the way. Like, when you have a racist relative and they want to assert their power, this is what happened with me. My dad was purposely saying offensive things in front of me to see if I would react. And I had always been raised up to be the kind of child that is seen but not heard, right? Do you remember that? I was seen but not heard. So I barely ever said anything. I never confronted my father about the shit that he was doing. But the shit he was doing was wrong.
Dumb, so let's move on. And I pushed back, and he didn't like that either at the time.
So, listen, the Kansas City Star also spoke to your brother. Your brother's name is Daniel Ludwig, and he said it seems like a bunch of mistakes in a row that resulted in a tragedy. I mean, a lot of mistakes all the way around. Unfortunately, if you look at the affidavit, there were actions taken that caused my grandpa's side isn't being reported.
Oh, really?
And he is saying that your grandfather is not racist. He doesn't believe that.
Well, that's some bullshit.
He can say that. I think he's running defense a little bit. I don't think he...
Hey, I have tons of family members that still hang out with my dad. Tons of family members that want to get their inheritance and don't want to stand by their own moral values of what should be happening in society today. Yes, I know exactly the same type of people that you're related to.
Sees him for who he is.
Did your grandfather have a gun or more weapons in the house?
They were all over, yes.
What do you mean, they?
The guns were all over. He had them stashed in some spots and had a big locker full of them. But yeah, he was ready to defend his...
Okay, bro, come on. You're going to go on CNN, you're not going to come on my show? What the fuck is this shit? Like, actually, that's kind of fucked up. You're going to go on CNN and talk about your granddad, but not come on this broadcast? Really?
Well, did
What's
you
up?
invite him?
What does Don Lemon have that I don't have? You know what I mean? I'm
What, did you invite him? I thought it was pronounced Don Lemon. Am I wrong about that? But did you invite the kid? You know, what are you whining about? Did you invite this kid to go talk to you? Did you send him an invitation, Hassan?
It's actually fucked up. Person is doing a really good job, for the record, of like talking about a very serious issue that that his own blood relative has been involved with. Like this takes ginormous balls. It's not the first time that...
It's a little easier, I think, when you're a grandkid, though, because like there's a generational difference, and so you're like, I don't connect with him at all. I don't know why he lives in the world that he lives in, right? So it's a little easier because it's not like it's his dad. That's a little harder. That's the scenario I'm in. Not that my dad has done anything like this. He has not done anything like this, but he is just as mean of a bastard as this guy's grandpa. Where I would not be surprised if he fucking did something like this. I would not be surprised.
Someone in this community has like gone on CNN and spoken out against their psychotic MAGA parents. Actually, it's the third time that has happened where, you know, someone from this community has gone on CNN and talked about their MAGA parents, including the one dude who went and snitched on his January 6th dad. And then, of course, what's her, I can't remember her username right now, but our resident lesbian, whose unfortunately father passed away to COVID. Yeah, who was a COVID denier due to all the insane shit that her dad was watching.
It's really sad when we have to apologize for our parents' behavior. You know, it's sad. And, like, the way I think of it is, you know, my parents are aging. Ultimately, they will pass away. I don't know. Maybe they'll outlast me. I don't know. Because, like, I have my own body issues with all the shit that's happened to me. But the reality is there's going to be probably at some point where I have to go to a funeral, right? And I think it's very unlikely that I will even speak. It's unlikely that I will even speak. Because of how horribly I was treated throughout my life. I just don't see it being a reality that I can get up in front of people who have a completely different perception of my dad and don't really realize like who he really was. I think it would be very difficult for me to get in front of an audience and try and be like, oh, my dad, he was a world-class organist, and, you know, he played for 3 popes, and he was a dick to me my whole fucking life. He was a deadbeat. like, he was a racist motherfucker. Like, how do I get in front of a group and say that, you know? He cut me off during a pandemic when I had to live alone and shelter in place. Like, how do you deal with the fact that sometimes you're related to people who are assholes? How do you do that? And I think this grandson is doing the best he can with what he has.
Just Lane. Yeah. America sucks, boys. That's just how it is, you know? And a lot of you know what your parents are like.
Home, as he would say.
Considering the recent history, I mean, is this a recent history that you found your grandfather? Is that why you pulled away from him? Has he always been this way, or is this something new?
I feel like he's been pretty conservative for a long time, which is fine. But feel like in the last 5 or 6 years, it's really ramped up.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like, literally, everybody that we know who is Republican leaning, who watches Fox News, has gotten way the fuck worse during Trump's presidency, and especially due to the pandemic. Because Trump kept telling them that it was a hoax. It was a Democratic hoax, right? So this has torn families apart. And you motherfuckers all contributed to that. You're like, we believe Trump rather than our own blood. Right?
Huge Trump supporter, and between that and then the galvanizing that people have been feeling lately with politicians and ideologues co-signing, you know, violence and domestic violence, domestic terrorism, and even pardoning people who murder other people for differing political beliefs. I feel like all that stuff has really ramped up his beliefs and radicalized him a little bit.
I'm just wondering, because we've been covering these, and there are usually, not always, there are warning signs. You feel like the warning signs were there. That's why I asked you if this is something that happened recently.
Yeah, I believe so. The warning signs were there. I wasn't shocked when I heard the news. I believed it.
I know, he could have...
And he did live alone?
He could have kept his door closed, right? He could have yelled something through the door and said, "Who are you? Why are you here?" He could have done that, but he didn't. He instead opened his door and fired on a young teenage black man. That's what he fucking did. And you're absolutely right. This was going on long before the pandemic, although it like spiked around the pandemic because then they started getting all kinds of crazy information. But even before the pandemic, I was getting passive aggressive behavior from my dad. I was getting all kinds of crap from him before the pandemic. And like I never talked politics with him. He took me out for my birthday in 2019. And took me to a Japanese restaurant in Beverly Hills. It was like 8 courses, and each course came with like a drink, like sake or something. And by like a few courses in, when everybody was saucy at this point, he was calling me a socialist, attacking me verbally. So I excused myself and went to the bathroom because I don't talk politics with him if I know that he's going to disagree with it. I went to the bathroom and my son had to quell the situation while I was gone and change the topic. And that's how aggressive you motherfuckers have become. That you can't even like enjoy your family anymore.
Up until recently, his wife lived there, but yes, he was living alone at the time.
Until recently, his wife lived there. She didn't live there.
She wasn't there at the time, no.
She wasn't there. Okay. What message do you have for Ralph Yarl and his family, Clint?
I'm proud of you, Ralph. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I understand you're an amazing kid, and I think you're going to grow up to be an amazing man. And you didn't do anything wrong. The outpouring of support that the country has shown to you, I think, says more than I ever could say. And I'm really thankful for Sean King for making this a national news story, and the people getting out in the streets and demanding attention. And Ralph, you don't deserve to have your life fundamentally changed like you had it, and you deserve justice. And my family stands with you.
Have you reached out to the Yarls?
No. I don't really know how. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So,
well, I think we'll make sure that they see this. I just want to know, what message do you have for your grandfather?
I really don't know what to say to him.
Maybe I was
I'm really
wrong.
sad that this happened. He didn't need to do this. This didn't have to happen. He didn't need to be scared of a young kid coming to his door at night. It's absurd. He needs to get his paranoia, and this isn't just for him too. A lot of people in the world, the paranoia.
That could have been one of our canvassers, you guys. That literally could, like, we had a lot of black people on the team. We had a lot of Latinos on the team. We had people of different ethnicities. That could have been any one of our canvassers that knocked on that motherfucker's door. It's disgusting how racist you MAGA people are. It's fucking disgusting. And we were knocking doors up until like 8 o'clock at night in winter when it was dark. Okay? We got yelled at all the time. But fortunately, none of us got shot. Okay? I got attacked by an attack dog, sure. But none of us got shot. It's so gross. It's so fucking gross. Your belief systems, your prejudices, your racism and your bigotry is so fucking gross.
Atomizing the society, it's going to lead to some really bad stuff. And we're not doing anything to fix it. We're just getting galvanized and staying at home alone.
Clint Ludwig, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
He deleted his profile because he's already getting like ripped apart.
Probably. Right? Yeah.
He deleted his Twitter, but he interacted with one of your tweets in 2021. Oh, here. It's Clint Ludwig saying Kershaw makes some great knives as well. He tweeted at you a couple times for Real House, and I mean, I suspected it. If they're in the replies of like another person who's like replying to a PO box tweet, who cares if he's a Hassan Abihed? Why is this the topic? We're on Twitch. This is a tight-knit community. People are proud of the unfathomable amount of fucking balls that someone has. The unfathomable amount of balls it takes to go on national television and correctly call out white supremacy and your own grandfather who shot someone, and if someone from our community is doing something like that, I'm going to celebrate it. Like, why the wouldn't I? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
You know, we support you. You're doing a great job. You very clearly communicated many of the issues that led to your grandfather's further radicalization, while also simultaneously talking about like how normalized, how normative it is to have like white supremacist values like this. You know, that's incredible. I'm super fucking proud. You know what I mean? He was calm the entire time. He was coherent, and he did a wonderful fucking job. That's what it is. The reason why I do...
Well, and on top of it, he was empathetic and also saddened. You know, he was expressing the appropriate emotions for the situation, because it's really fucking hard to be related to somebody who's doing something stupid, you know, because it's like guilty by association. And so you have to separate yourself from that kind of behavior. And I've had to do that as well. Now, fortunately, none of my family has injured anybody like that. But words have come out of their mouths. And I think that, you know, a lot of white people can acknowledge that that has happened in your family too. And how do we deal with it? How do we correct their behavior so that we don't have this going on anymore? I don't know that I can. I mean, like, I've been as vocal and as out there as possible, and I don't think I can. I don't know how to do it.
What I fucking do is so that there are people out there who change their opinions on certain things. You know what I mean? So that the message is spread further. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's the best we can do.
Well, just assuming he's a community member is such a wild, egotistical stretch. Yeah. I agree with you, 17-month subscriber, but I mean, we found out that wasn't that was a stretch that turned into a lock. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing he didn't say is at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. Like, if he hit Don Lemon with that, it would have been, that's it. This has happened multiple times, and every time they are, in fact, a hostile on my head. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Anyway, why is chat being weird and turning this into an attack on you is so weird and selfish? Yeah, they are, because they're just turning around and being like, dude, it's in your you know, you're selfish.
No, it's because you don't moderate your chat enough. You have a bunch of fucking trolls in your chat constantly. And you go ahead and read their comments anyway. Why? Why don't you just skip over them? Why don't you block them? You get all kinds of fucking trolls in your chat, and you just roll with it.
Egotistical, fuck you. When a lot of the stuff that he was saying, I've said many, many times. So I recognize a lot of his sentiment. So I made an assumption, and then it turned out to be true. I am very proud of people that can clearly communicate their perspective like this, even under the microscopic lens of like being on television like this. Anyway, so here's the 3-minute ad break now. Let's continue.
All right.
Sure, thank you.
I guess this is
We're following a breaking news alert now. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a transgender athlete ban for girls and women's sports teams.
Oh,
Well, because the